Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
There is noise from Felix. I will mute you. I think that's the case. Okay, so welcome everybody to this new morning session of the European Alliance Against Coronavirus. Today we will speak about the advanced technologies in the European industry, the ATI project, and in order to go deep in this subject, we have the best possible speakers for sure. Marta Batalla Massana from DG Grow, Irene McNanny from the European Government Consulting, IDC, Els van der Velde from the Competitiveness and Innovation IDEA Consult, and later we will open the floor for every one of you just to, contribute, challenge. Yeah, mostly I will invite you to challenge, no? Just to learn something new, okay? Not only to speak, but to learn. Anyway, before going on, it's important to say that this session is being recorded. We will share it in both in the channels of the European Cluster Alliance and in the European Cluster Coalition platform. And if you keep with us, you are accepting that. That's important to say. And without any more introduction, I will let Marta open the session with her presentation. Now I'm going to share the screen from my computer. Let me change it. Now, and the floor is yours, Marta.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. Good morning, everyone. My name is Marta Batalla, as Antonio said, and I'm a policy officer at DG Grow, the European Commission. And more precisely, I'm one of the members of the Industrial Forum, Alliances and Clusters. So I'm the representative of the cluster for the digital transformation, but also on the other side, I'm one of the project managers of the Advanced Technologies for Industry, which is the project that we will present it to you today. So next slide, please, Antonio. So before going into detail, what is the Advanced Technologies for Industry, and Irene and Els, she will go into deep and explaining like the different parts and sections that we have on our platform. I would give you a bit of a context, and I believe that this is something that most of you have already heard. The European Commission, when we try to create projects or to think about policy tools that we can provide to our users, we also need to be strictly aligned with the different guidelines that we have at the European Commission. And the Advanced Technologies for Industry is not an exception. So when we created this project, and also to give you a bit of a context, this project was born as a result of two former projects that we had previously at DG Grow. One, it was called Digital Transformation, and the other it was Key Enabling Technologies Observatory and KET centers. When we tried to create the Advanced Technologies for Industry, we decided to merge the uptake of different technologies, digital and key enabling technologies that later on I will explain a bit on detail. But for us, it was very much interesting and key to understand how we can support the industry and how we can be aligned with the Europe Fit for the Digital Age, which is the digital transformation of our economy, our society, and also our industry, and also to take into account the sustainability, so the European Green Deal. So, and actually, I believe that you have heard many times that these are the two fundamental pillars that we need to take into account and we need to work for in the European Union for the coming years. Also now, due to the crisis, there is the resilience as well. But when this project was born, it was mainly with these two pillars. And also the other, let's say, part of we could not work without, it was the industrial strategy. So the previous industrial strategy was supporting the industry on taking technologies, and actually with the current industrial strategy, this has enhanced it even more. So if you take a look at the new industrial strategy that was published last week, the uptake of technologies play a key role, and actually 4 pages on the staff working document for the industrial strategy only talks about the ATI, the uptake of technologies, and how these can support the resilience and the competitiveness and the economic recovery of Europe. So this is just a bit of a context on where do we stand with this project. Next slide, please. So what is advanced technologies for industry? So the main goal and the objective of this monitoring tool is to assess the uptake of advanced technologies. So we try to see what are the different technologies that are being implemented in different industrial sectors in Europe, and we are seeing what is the level of competitiveness, how this can support the industry, how this can support the different sizes of businesses to become more competitive, to be part of the different value chains, and to increase somehow their economic capacity. Our work somehow is our main users for this work are industry representatives, means all of you, policymakers as well, and also academia. We have lots of researchers on academia that also search for our data and our analysis specifically for the industry. And what you will be able to find in our website, and indeed I have introduced the website here, that is ati.ec.europa.eu. So you will find somehow 4 sections. The first one is the data dashboard, where you will find a large number of statistical data that is being developed in-house, that we develop by using innovative tools, data that it's been created by a in-house also survey, and lastly also data that we are picking up from Eurostat, OECD, and alike. Next, the other part of our work is that once we collect this data, and that's also we do qualitative analysis, we have a different type of analytical reports. And the reports that you can find there, yes, and if you go, for instance, on the tools, on here, thank you very much. On the reports, you can find the technology reports, international reports, EU reports, and so on and so forth. The next part that we have on our data, on our platform, is the technology center mapping, where different technology centers, they can apply to become member of our technology center, and this supports them somehow to become, to interact with other technology centers, and also supports the SMEs to know what are the different technologies that are being uptaken and how this can be support to their work. And lastly, the other part of our work, the last part of our work, is promoting our studies, promoting our reports by doing events. Today is one of the examples, but also we do in-house events. For instance, tomorrow there is an event that we have Make It Work events, policy events. So we try to somehow disseminate, as you can see, tomorrow is the one of shaping European manufacturing, the role of advanced technologies. So, and actually, if you're interested, more than welcome to register to our event of tomorrow. So we try to somehow discuss and see what are the needs for SMEs, what are the needs for our industry, and how we can support. Next slide. And lastly, you will perhaps think about, okay, so Marta was mentioning advanced technologies. What does she mean about advanced technologies? So as I was previously mentioning, this project was born for taking into account the work of 2 former projects, Digital Transformation Monitor and Key Enabling Technologies. And in here you see reflected this list of 16 technologies. So you see the key enabling technologies that are more, let's say, physical technologies, and the digital technologies, because we believe that this list of 16 are the most relevant technologies that we currently have right now in Europe uptaking, and it's worth to monitor this. Of course, we believe that on the continuation of this project on the ATI, somehow we will need to adapt, because this is a very fast sector where technologies are being implementing and uptaking very, very fast, and every time we have new things to look at. But at this current moment of time, these 16 technologies are the most relevant in the European industry and the ones that we are looking at. And I will leave it here because I just wanted to give you just a very, very brief introduction about the project. But now I will give the floor to Irene and Els because they are the ones, our consortium, that are in charge of doing the in-depth reports and to dig in a bit more about our work. So Irene, the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you very much, Marta, for this introduction. Maybe next slide, please, Antonio. Next one. Thank you very much. So today I will present some findings on the uptake of advanced technologies and some more sectoral insights from our sectoral reports. I don't want to present something that Marta already said, but just to give you a little bit more context. Our project basically analyzes and systematically monitors the state of the uptake of advanced technologies. As Marta already presents, there are many tools to do it. For example, the data dashboard and the mapping of technology center, which my colleague will present later on. Today, my presentation is more on sectoral insights and international reports. Next slide, please. So a first sneak peek on our results. First of all, I would like to say that these results are from the first edition of our ATI survey, which was conducted last year, but a new edition is going to be published in the General Findings Report, which will be available next month. So we will be also able to have some COVID-19 post-pandemic data, which for sure will be a useful comparison to these first results. So I invite you also to on our website once it will be published. Of course, we will follow up. But just to give you a sneak peek on the main results, there are some interesting dynamics shown by our ATI survey. The first one is that companies that we surveyed adopt between 2 and 5 technologies. So almost the 80% adopt a technology co-presence. This means that there is a disruptive potential once we adopt in parallel advanced technologies. And the ones that are more likely to be adopted together are cloud and securities. But there are also some dynamics and synergies between IoT, AI, and big data. As you can see on the left side of my slides, the share of uptake, the highest share of uptake is for connectivity, cloud, and advanced manufacturing, while the lowest share is for nanotechnologies, AR/VR, photonics, and advanced material. Next slide, please. So one of our first questions was where is more likely to spot innovators and what we mean by innovators. So we did a cluster analysis which aims at grouping the respondents into groups or cluster where they are more likely to be similar within each group rather than to other groups. And we divided the participants to our survey in 4 groups. The first one was the investigators, the second one, the experimenters, the third one, the adventurers, and the third one, the innovators. This is based on the level of maturity of the uptake. So from a low percentage of uptake for the investigators to the highest percentage of uptake of advanced technologies for the innovators. Actually, what we see here, there are 2 interesting dynamics. The first one is that the high innovation propensity is shown by the telecom and media and finance cluster. While the highest share of innovators is shown by healthcare and utilities. And we think that after the COVID pandemic, healthcare will show mainly the same results because, of course, of the great potential that it showed during this last period. While the more hesitant to change the cluster that are more hesitant to adopt advanced technologies are agriculture and transport. Next slide, please. Thank you. Other 2 interesting findings from our survey is the key difference shown by size. So we saw that with maturity increase also the size of the company. So the highest the number of employees, the highest the number of adventurers and innovators. Also, think about the fact that for investigators, we see a co-presence of 2 technologies, while this co-presence can be up to 9 technologies for innovators. So really, highest number of employees, highest number of advanced technology adopted, and more propensity to change and adopt new technology. Next slide, please. Thank you. So as Marta was presenting before, we have different type of reports. Today, I'm going to show you some insights from our sectoral watch. These type of reports analyze the trends in the generation and uptake of advanced technologies, but the focus is really on the supply and demand skills related to the advanced technologies, related to entrepreneurial activities, and the skill needed to be hired in this particular sector. So the structure is, we present an industrial contents. We, of course, present the technological trends, which are ever present in our deliverable, but the focus is really on the future outlook and on the skills related to these sectors. We analyze 10 sectors. You can see the list on the bottom of the slide. So the automotive, medical devices, electronics, and so on. Next slide, please. So one of our first question was, in which sector do professionals with advanced technology skill concentrate? Actually, the first answer can be quite straightforward, so the ICT sector, research and academia, but we also found out that professionals with advanced technologies has the higher percentage of present in telecommunication, electronics, and automotive industries. The LinkedIn analysis is actually based on keywords, and we were also able to locate the data and actually to draw a sort of talent flow between the European sectors. On the left side, you can see a comparison between the EU27 and the US. Next slide, please. The second question was which technologies in which countries have the most skilled professional in specific industries. Maybe not really surprisingly, the textile industry has the highest percentage of skilled professional in Italy, so where I'm speaking from, while the chemical industry, the highest percentage of professional is hired in Germany. In the blue bar, you can see the share for total industry, while the orange bubble is the share in total EU27. Next slide, please. The second type of reports I'm going to present briefly today are the international reports. So the starting point is always the 16 advanced technology we present, but these reports really focus on the policy framework and do some example of national policy and regional policy that are supporting the development of advanced technologies in these particular countries. The country we surveyed and analyzed were Europe, China, Canada, Russia, United States, South Korea, Japan. And for China and the United States, there are also two extended reports which really go in depth in the analysis of the last 2 years, the policies adopted in the last 2 years. I think we will also share these links in the chat later on. Next slide, please. So the main findings of our EU report, because we also analyzed the EU27 in this type of reports. This report was really about an overview of the EU performance. And especially what we found out is that the strength of EU27 lies in advanced material, advanced manufacturing, and the Internet of Things. So the dark blue part on the right side of these slides. While, for example, we lag behind in blockchain, AR, VR, micro and nanoelectronics. From a policy context point of view, what the report said, the main findings was that Europe shall adopt an open strategic autonomy to build a resilient industrial ecosystem, because for sure the COVID pandemic widened the digital divide, and to fully recover, we need to aim to exploit the industrial innovation ecosystem. And one key role can be played by smart cluster, which in our opinion can actively support the transformation of industry and really act as agent of change. I hope this can stimulate the discussion later on, but I think the Q&A session will be in the second part of the event. So next slide, please. Thank you very much, and feel free to write your question in the chat or to reach out directly to me. I will now give the floor to my colleague Els van de Velde, which will present the Technology Center of the ATI project. Thank you very much.
Also, good morning from my side. It's my pleasure to present you today the ATI Technologies Mapping. If you can go to the next slide. So what is the ATI Technology Centers mapping? Well, the objective of the mapping is to map technology centers. So we are not interested in research infrastructures, but rather technological infrastructures or technological centers that can help actually the SMEs to cross the valley of death and go from the lab to the market to develop and produce new ATI products. How does the website look like? So in the right-hand side, you can see how the website looks like. You can select on the countries where the technological center is located, the sector in which the technological center is active, the activities it's actually organizing, or the TRL level. Yep. So indeed, so this is the website, and then you can, it's very active. So if, for example, you pick a country, or you can then make the selection. If you pick a sector, you can make the selection. Yes, if you, for example, click Denmark and you apply, and then you scroll down, then you see the centers of the, and then below, if you go below the map, then you see all the technological centers that are active in Denmark and that are registered. And if you then click on the map, yes, here you have then an overview of, for example, of DTI, what it is, the description, the equipment they are offering, and also a link to their equipment, the kind of services they're offering, so that as an SME, it's very interesting to see what they are doing. And there is also an SME contact person, so that you can contact them directly if you're interested in getting access and in collaborating with DTI, for example, in this case. So what are ATI technological centers? Well, we define them in this project as public or private organizations that are carrying out applied research and close to market innovation. So we are looking here at technological readiness levels between 3 to 8, not necessarily the whole range, but as said in the beginning, we are not looking for universities which are doing basic research. We are really looking for research and technology organizations that are doing applied research that can be used or can be attributed by SMEs in order to enhance their innovation. If you can go to the next slide. So technological centers, how do we select them? Well, they typically provide some of the following services. So first of all, access to technology expertise and facilities for validation. So they really need to be open for the SMEs because there are technological centers available in Europe which are quite closed. So we are trying to look for those or select those who are very open to offer services to SMEs, who are willing to work with SMEs. Who offer pilot production and demonstration facilities, so that again SMEs can see how certain innovation and innovative technologies work in a certain condition under certain demonstration facilities. They often also have proof of concept lab testing, allow for prototype development and testing, for product validation and certification, and for demonstration. So you see on the kind of activities we select them on, they're really active in the higher TRL phases that really allow to demonstrate, to prove the innovative technology, what it's worth, so that then SMEs can enhance the innovation within their company and commercialize it. If you can go to the next slide. So what's the current distribution? So currently we have around 350 technological centers that are present in the mapping. And on the right-hand side, you can see the technologies, as already explained also by Marta and Irene. What you see is that at the current point in time, we have some overemphasis on the previous key enabling technologies, which are the top 6, the advanced manufacturing technologies, advanced materials, micro and nanoelectronics, nanotechnology, photonics, and industrial biotechnology. And it is because this project is a successor of a previous project where the focus was very much on the previous key enabling technologies. In this project, we have expanded the scope to also include 10 digital technologies, as were already explained by Marta, so artificial intelligence, IoT, mobility, and so on. And so now we are also opening up the mapping for technology centers who are active in these areas. The issue here that we have a bit, at least with the digital centers, is that some of the digital centers are quite recent, and at least to get access to the technology center mapping, we ask or we demand a bit of a degree of maturity. So the centers needs to be active for at least 2 years already. So some of the centers have applied, and then we ask them to wait until they have some additional maturity, until they can indeed exist for at least 2 years before they can then enter the mapping. So we have some of the centers in the waiting area. On the left-hand side, you can see the distribution of countries. Not surprisingly, we have the larger member states who have a larger amount of technological centers. So you see here France, Spain, Germany, Italy. But we also have several smaller member states like Belgium, but also Ireland, Finland, the Czech Republic, Austria, who also have quite some technological centers that are already present at the mapping. But of course, the mapping is still open. So, and that's also why I was very happy to present this, the mapping to you today. If you know technological centers in your region, which are not yet present at the mapping, they are very welcome to apply to the mapping so that they can also be inserted in the mapping. If you can go to the next slide. So what is the use of the online mapping? What do we aim with the mapping? On the one hand side, to get an overview, because a comment that is sometimes heard by SMEs is that they do not know where to get the knowledge. And with our mapping, we aim to give this an overview of the services, of the technological, of the pilot facility demonstration infrastructure that is available for the SMEs across Europe, because it's not always within your region, but it might be in a neighboring region or in another country. Secondly, the networking aspect. So to find the right contact person. So if you apply as an ATI Technological Center, you have to add an SME contact person so that the SME can directly reach out to you, to the center, in order to find out and to have additional information. We also, the mapping also allows to promote the existing expertise and service offerings, because several of the technological centers that are active in the mapping actually already confirmed to us that they got additional deal flow because now SMEs found them and contacted them to get additional information on their services, and some additional projects have been created thanks to the mapping and they're present on the mapping. And lastly, of course, collaboration. And again, here we have some evidence that several technological centers use the mapping to find other technological centers who are complementary to them in order, for example, to apply for Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe program. So also there is a clear opportunity for collaboration with the other technological centers. Who can use the online mapping? Well, the mapping is very much targeted towards SMEs, but not exclusively for SMEs, because also innovation intermediaries or public authorities can use it in order to identify, on the one hand side, which technological centers are active within my region or within my country, which technological areas are well covered, but maybe, or which technological focus do we have within those technological centers, but also to get a comprehensive overview of how active are we in, for example, certain of the digital technologies, how well are they covered, how well can our SMEs actually acquire the knowledge or get access to this kind of knowledge that they need. The second advantage is that the SME can find the right contact person. So as I said, we also take care of that the contact person is indeed a person, that the email address is correct, that the telephone number is correct for getting the technological services and expertise. And then, of course, the technological centers can really use the mapping in order to promote the expertise they have, the services they offer, and like I said, to explore opportunities to collaborate with the other centers. And then finally, who can apply? The mapping is an open mapping, so everybody can still apply. It's still open for several months. So if you, and that's a warm request to all of you, if you know technological centers that are not yet there, but should be there, please send them the link to the technological center mapping, ask them to apply. It's a very easy procedure to apply. It's very straightforward. The criteria to be accepted are on the online mapping. You can easily find them on the website. But if there are any questions, of course, you can always contact me or my team, and we will help you through the application. So yes, feel free to forward the link to your technological centers. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you to all of you, Marta, Els, and Irene. So I have a lot of questions for you. You know, we are missing clusters in those maps, for example. Okay, for sure, you are between clusters, but I don't want to advance the question. So we will open the floor for the attendance, and I think that Mayri has the first comment.
Yeah.
Mayri, will you share?
Good morning, everyone. I work a lot in marine development sector, and aquaculture would be one of the areas that I'd work with. But there's so many opportunities in, you know, advanced technologies that can aid the sustainable aquaculture sector, which is growing rapidly. I'm just wondering how can we get across, you know, how can we highlight the business cross-sectoral opportunities for people in advanced technology skills?
Thank you, Maire. And I don't know. First of all, what I encourage you is to check our sectoral reports, because we have done a report on agriculture, on agri-food sector, and there perhaps you could see a little bit of work. What we have not done on this phase of ATI is to do cross-sectoral analysis, basically, and this is quite simple because there were not before done sectoral analysis per se on the advanced technologies. And first, before doing cross-sectoral, what we decided to do is, at least with the capacity that we had, to do the analysis for sectoral specific reports. So in this phase, you will only be able to see these, but we are exploring to do a continuation for the ATI project, and we are even considering to do this. So once we have this sectoral analysis, to make also cross-sectoral and to see how they can be related, because some sectorals can cooperate one to each other. But what I encourage you is to check the section of sectoral reports, because there perhaps you will see, for instance, the one on agriculture, that it's quite interesting in this regard, and you will see the list of advanced technologies that are the most relevant for the agriculture sector, and so on.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I see that we have also Jaime. Jaime, could you share your
Hello,
comment?
Antonio. How are you? A very short question to Irene. Irene, it was very interesting, your presentation. Thank you very much. What do you think that can be the role of a better cooperation between universities and companies in this ATI agenda? How do you see the example and the role of the centers of excellence that you are having everywhere in Europe in this ATI agenda also? Thank you.
Thank you. So it was not really in the ATI agenda, but what I can say from this study on skills is that developing the professional of the future will require for sure a combination of advanced professional skills, digital and soft skills. So for sure, I think our LinkedIn analysis can be a fresco of what are the most important skills we need to develop right now. And so I think there could be a synergy between this type of fundings, the university and the technology center. So I think there should be an open dialogue between these institutions, and this could lead to a development of professional which really are fit to the new challenges that will be ahead of us. And this cannot be done, of course, with a cooperation with universities. So I think our findings in the skill analysis in this sense can be also useful to understand which skills can be really game-changing to focus on for our university, and why not technology center. There could be an interesting synergies between these findings and the European industries, in my opinion. So really, you can take a look at all our work on skills on the website, and I hope this can stimulate further discussion with the universities. Thank you for your question.
Maybe Antonio, if I can add here.
Sorry.
Sure.
Please.
If I can just complement the answer of Irene for Jamie, it's that what we also do here at the dashboards, which Antonio is showing, is that we do not only look at data with regard to patents or publications, which is very much linked to universities, but we also go a step beyond. We look at production data, we look at trade data, we look at skills data. We also had several data of the country base, looking more at investments in startups and spin-offs. So what we are also trying to do is to identify from several sources of data in order then to see how well, indeed, if knowledge is created within the country, how well it's actually also being produced and being traded in that country, how much it's contributing to creating employment and to skills. So that's also a kind of richness we offer through the ATI dashboard, where we have the entire range of data. And then you can also see for your country, if you're a country that's mainly producing the knowledge or mainly manufacturing it, or if you're active actually in the whole value chain, as we call it, in order then to bring the innovation towards the markets. So that's another data source we actually offer through the ATI dashboard.
Thank you, Els. I see very interesting data here. Congratulations to Ireland. That is really creative talent. Okay, and STEAM graduates.
Also,
So,
the beauty of this data, Antonio, and sorry to jump in, is that, as I was saying at the very beginning, we do have, for instance, well-known data such as the one on Eurostat, on OECD and alike. The issue of this data, for instance, when we are talking about advanced technologies, is that these robust sources of data, they do not have any type of deep analysis on the uptake of advanced technologies. And this is a pity for the industry because they do not have this knowledge. So what we have created on this data dashboard, and on the case of skills is very easy to see, is that we have used, as Irene was mentioning, novel sources of data. So we have a license to use data from LinkedIn, where it allows us to have the supply and demand of skills on one specific knowledge of one technology. And this is updated and downloaded regularly. So this helps us somehow to get a good understanding which type of skills, for instance, if I put an example, who has the skills on artificial intelligence for the textile sector in Italy. So this is going very, very narrow and getting a good understanding of what is happening, for instance, right now during the pandemic. And this is extremely novel. And we have also combined it with the robust data just to have a good, somehow, robustness on the overall pillar, on the skills. And it's extremely helpful for the sector to get a good understanding of what is happening, not only just using Eurostat data from 2018.
I totally agree, and I really congratulate you for the approach. It's an excellent work, really. Okay, so Maria Jose Tondak from the ECCP.
Yes, hello. I think that this is really very interesting. Congratulations on these results. I think it's indeed very detailed and very good to have. I actually already put my post in my question in the chat, and I think also Antonio reflected to it. So how are you linked to, how are you involving clusters? Because that's, I think, also very important to help advancing the advanced technology for industry.
Yeah, no, thanks.
And are you, yeah.
No, go on, please.
No, please go ahead.
No, I mean, we are very, very much involved in clusters. And first of all, because I'm project manager of the Advanced Technologies for Industry and also member of the cluster team. So the clusters are very much involved in the scope and in the analysis in different levels. In one of the levels, for instance, and you will see I believe that in a month and a half, you will see on our platform a report on clusters, specifically for clusters, and analyzing how the advanced technologies can support cluster organizations. Examples of cluster organizations around Europe that are adopting technologies and how they are doing and how they are evolving. So we have them, let's say we will have an analysis for the clusters in a month and a half on our platform, on our report. And on the other side, for us, the clusters, and this is something that I believe I said to many cluster organizations, they play a key role. Basically, because, for instance, if I am a cluster organization that I work specifically for the manufacturing sector, what I can do is to check the report specifically for the manufacturing sector that we have on our website. Why? Because there I will get a good understanding of what is happening in my sector and most likely in my country. That's the first thing. Second thing that I can do as a cluster organization from the manufacturing sector is also to check the data dashboard, because there also I can check at national level. Of course, if I tell you, if I wish and I would have the financial capacity, I would like to have data at regional level. At this point of time, we do not have regional data, so this is something that perhaps is one of the points that we are thinking and looking at for the continuation of ATI. But overall, you can get a good understanding of my country, and even if I'm on a specific manufacturing sector, check my competitors from other countries, or learning policies that are being implemented on other countries so I can learn from. So for me, clusters organizations are playing a key role because they can get the knowledge and the understanding and can somehow support their SMEs that are part of their members and say, listen, so taking into account the Advanced Technologies for Industry report, I can see that these technologies are the most relevant for my sector. So perhaps it would be good to think about how to implement these technologies on your business. So clusters play a very, very important role on our work, and we very much look into them.
Yeah, and I think also what you present here is very complementary to the mapping that ECCP has done. Maybe I can show briefly the new layout of the site, which shows the mapping. Is this okay to share the site?
You are now the presenter.
Okay, thank you. So you can see here you can see here the mapping tool of the ECCP, where you can basically look per NACI and per characteristics of the organization and select and find organizations to cooperate with or to see what they are doing. And what is new is basically that it's not only on for cluster organizations, but also for cluster organization members. And that's the ECPs, the European Cluster Partnerships are there, the National Associations of Clusters, meta clusters, but also training providers. So if you go to the ECCP website, clustercollaboration.eu, you can find those training providers. And you can basically select per industry for manufacturing or one of those that were presented, which clusters there are. What is important though is that that people do update their profile, because otherwise it doesn't appear well in the mapping. And it's also important to be able to have the access to the funding and tenders. And you can put your events there. So your event of tomorrow is also there, for example, and there is also one on smart manufacturing matchmaking this week, which you can find on the ECCP website. So this I think is very complementary to what you show, as this gives the idea of a broader where you go deeper into ATI. This shows a broader view of for the ATI approach.
I have several questions. Do you have a definition for what you call smart clusters?
ATI? No.
Yes.
No,
okay.
we don't have.
That's a very good point. And what is the relationship with the digital innovation hubs? Okay,
so well, here else also can jump in when you want, else please. Is different, the digital innovation hubs and the ATI, and there is this question I have been asked many times. So what is the difference between the cluster collaboration platform, the digital innovation hubs, even the EEN platform? These are different. And as I was mentioning here, what we are is just, this is a platform for technology centers with higher tier levels. So it's different. And in this case, and also I have seen here as one of the questions about the test beds on Horizon 2020. Here, the technology centers apply, and as Els was mentioning, is or giving to you the asking for the support of technology centers applying to our platform. And it's different. In principle, digital innovation hubs to only be based on digital technologies, even though we have seen more and more there are other type of technologies that are key enabling technologies being part of the digital innovation hubs. But the difference here is the level of TRL, and it's very, very narrow. As Els was mentioning, they should be for 2 years. Up and running, they should help a specific number of SMEs. So our requirements are very, very specific, whereas in the digital innovation hubs are broader. But please, Els, correct me if I'm wrong. You are here the master of the technology centers on ATI.
Yeah. Indeed, thank you for this very relevant question. I think, Marta, you explained it very well, but indeed, a big difference also is that the technology centers here we focus much more on the excellence. So on the excellent services they can offer, a bit similar also to the research infrastructures, while of course the digital innovation hubs focus much more on the ecosystem building. That's the most important. So also here again, the focus is a bit different, while and also we are, like Marta said, much more narrow. We really focus on those pilot lines, demonstration infrastructures that can really help the SMEs. If the centers just offer a few services to SMEs, but it's not related to physical infrastructure or demo, we will not accept them on the mapping. But if they do offer this, and we do have a few digital innovation hubs part of the mapping because they do offer this equipment, these demos infrastructures to SMEs, they offer the services, they're also quite excellent in what they're doing. So it's not an exclusive way. So if they apply for the criteria and they are accepted, they can be accessed. And it's the same for the open innovation test beds. So all of the have been invited to become part of the technological center mapping, but in some cases, some open innovation test beds were not mature enough, so they did not get the TRL phases. But in case they did, then they are part. So it's an inclusive mapping, including digital innovation hubs if appropriate, open innovation test beds if they fit within our scope.
Thank you, Els. I think it's very clear. Thank you very much. Anais. Welcome. Bonjour.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for the very interesting presentation. So I was the one asking about the Open Innovation Testbed because as CBER, we are the cluster alliance in life science, and we are part of one. So I'm actually really interested. It's we're on the second year of the project, so we still have some time to go. So I'm happy to connect further also. My question maybe is also related to the use of your platform. Do you monitor who's asking and what are the SME getting from all of this? Just to kind of see also in our mind in the Open Innovation Testbed, the idea is to provide a single point entry for the companies when they need concrete services. And so I was wondering what is the use of your platform and who's looking at it and how you're monitoring this.
Els, do you want to jump in?
Yep, indeed. So we are monitoring indeed the data. So the website is actually run by the European Commission Services. And so every month we make up a dashboard of who is visiting the site, what kind of organizations. So we have quite some metrics that are available to see who are there and who are visiting it. With regard to the SMEs, we do not track which SMEs is finally contacting. So if they use the website, we can have a digital track, but if they just call the technological center to find out more about their services, that thing we cannot track. But that's also not the objective of the mapping. The objective of the mapping was really to make much more visible the offering forwards the SMEs to really encourage it. And what we do within the ATI project at least is we also made several movies in order to promote the mapping, but also to show how SMEs can actually use the mapping. And we interviewed a few SMEs, a few technological centers, to better explain also for the other SMEs and technology centers what can be the benefits. So that's a few of the metrics we use, but the actual mapping of how many SMEs we were actually able to help with the technology center mapping, that's information we do not have. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So I am showing the map of the technological center related to your field, Anais. I don't know if you can identify some of them.
I was doing the same. Thank you.
Yeah. Maybe Anais, to complement, what is important for you to know is that within the ATIs, to the advanced technology industries, there is chosen not to have life sciences, but to focus specifically on industrial biotechnology. And to focus on several digital technologies. So in that regard, we do accept several life science institutes, but if they are much more focused in the medical domain, they would not be present of the mapping. So that's an important distinction here to make. That's a choice that has been made a few years ago by the Commission, not to include the health-related aspects within the ATI technologies.
Okay. Yeah, no, in any case, I fully understand that. In the Open Innovation Testbed we're in, we're actually very focused on medical technology and nanotechnology. So it's really in I would say the focus that you have. So I will check it much more into detail today. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Feel free to apply.
Perfect. More comments, more questions. How can we better embed clusters in your tool? Okay, because we are doing some kind of tasks that are related with what you are doing. Okay, for example, my cluster idea in Aragon, we are now what we call in Spain the Avanza Pyme office. It means that we are the office in the region for the regional, for the national support on SMEs, on digitalization for SMEs, okay? From Red.es, that is the official agency in Spain, they have created a map of regional offices to support SMEs on digital, and our cluster is one of them, okay? And one of our tasks is to support them on contacting the right technology providers and support them on the right implementation of the technologies, the selection, and so on. So it's related with what you are doing, and I think it's very common on many digital clusters. You know that there are hundreds of digital or clusters focused on digital in Europe. It's very common to develop this kind of support. I mean, not only for our members, because in this case, we are supporting any SMEs in our region that wants to contact the official channel, okay? So how can we embed with your task? How can, for sure, we could make the task of distribute the information about the ATI project, but I would like to do something more, okay? I don't know if you think about that.
Yeah, for instance, and this is something that we have been thinking about, and I can give you an example, for instance, and in the case of digital transformation. In order to make digital transformation happen for an SME, most likely that SME would need skills, so people that have digital skills. Because without that, you cannot make an action happen. You can say how beautiful it is to have, I don't know, artificial intelligence, but perhaps, first of all, do I need artificial intelligence in my business or do I not need? And in case I need it, who will be in charge of implementing this technology in my business? So here, for instance, I can give you the example of the supply and demand of skills and the LinkedIn data that we have. Why? Because then you can see, first of all, with the LinkedIn data, you can see where these people are located. So where do we have the higher number of people that have these specific digital skills? And second of all, where the demand is happening. also is a good understanding to you to map, because as I'm sure Antonio and many of you have seen that there is sometimes lack of people that has the right skills or the right digital skills. So this gives you an understanding of where these people are and where these people are needed, because they're not needed everywhere. So this is an example. And if I would give you the recommendation for if I would be a cluster, I would do this analysis to say, okay, so for my SMEs, what do they need? They need skills, they need investments. Okay, so then I go and check the venture capitalism investments that I have on the platform, because we have Dealroom and Crunchbase. And in there you can see where the venture capitalism investments for specific sectors and technologies are located in Europe. And actually we try even to dig in, and we have some maps that where we check in electronics. If I think about it, you can dig in on the map of our report, and you can see that in France, more or less in Paris and in Berlin, these are the two focus. So it gets me an understanding of where is the money, or where these SMEs can go and look at the money. What else do I need? So I have the skills, I have the access to finance, as an example, infrastructure. How is my infrastructure? So which type of connections do we have? So for me, if I would be a cluster organization, I would first analyze and make a structure of what my SMEs need, and then look for the data that is in part of our work, because the work is there. And then if I need to dig in for specific sectors because I need to know what is happening, again, I'm going to the sector. Or if I need to see what are the products, we have a specific product reports where you can even see the value chain of that specific product. So it's beautiful because I see the whole structure of that product and how it is developed. And even if I'm an adventures SME and I want to go international, we have international reports, and where we talk about the specific technologies. So it's not that you have everything done for clusters, it's your work to make the analysis, but it is there. You know what I mean? So for every single part of what the business needs.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Marta. Wonderful. Good.
But that's a good job. That's a hard job for you to do.
No. It's very interesting, and in fact, it's very useful for us, even in our recommendation to our members or the SMEs. Yeah. As far as I understand, there is no regional split for those kind of data. No, that's okay.
It is something that it is on the pipeline to think how we can do. Okay, so for the data that we are using, let's say innovative sources, these ones I was mentioning, LinkedIn, Crunchbase, and Dealroom, is easier because basically it gives you where the business is located, where the person is located, and so on and so forth. So in there, the level of granularity is, I mean, it is there, so we can track it. But with the Eurostat data, for instance, that's very challenging. Sometimes there is not this level of granularity. Again, now, and perhaps all of you are aware, but the Commission also now we are working about the industrial ecosystems with the different 14 industrial ecosystems, and we are having a lot of discussions on saying, okay, so how is the analysis going to take place? The KPIs, the key performance indicators, will be at national level or would be at regional level. This is a discussion that we have right now. Hopefully, I mean, it could be good to be able to reach at regional level, but it's something that it is not on our hands. Of course, we wish we could have a regional data because this would be extremely useful for cluster organizations, for regional organizations, for agencies. But it is something to be discussed now.
And even for the companies, you know, because it's totally different, the map of talent inside the Spain regions.
Spain is an example. Every is completely different, and we have different levels of development in different technologies. So that's the point. But don't, I mean, we are trying to fine tune how we can make this happen.
This will be excellent improvement. So you could take it as our recommendation / plea if you want. Okay, that would be wonderful. Okay, so It's time. Thank you very much. Really, my deepest congratulations for the approach. It's extremely useful, and don't hesitate to reach for us for any further collaboration. I think that we should have organized this session sooner, okay, but it was quite complicated.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will invite you to another session in Spain for your information.
Okay, good. And as Els was saying, we very much encourage all the technology centers that are part of your cluster organizations to apply to our technology center mapping, and to all of you to check our work, to download our reports. The website is there for this. This is the main goal, and also to reach us in case you have any question.
Thank you very much. See you soon, I hope. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.